Shana Tova, everyone, welcome. We're going to begin our service this evening by offering the words, Pitchu li sha'arei tzedek, open up the gates of righteousness to us.
Pitchu li sha'arei tzedek, avova odeya. Pitchu li sha'arei tzedek, avova odeya.
Begin with our candle lighting tonight on page 9.
The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us.
Guided by the flame of conscience, on a sacred night, we search for truth.
Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love.
We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic light. teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Yom Kippur.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shehekiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu la'azman hazeh.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
Service continues now on page 15. KOL NIDRE, a chant that begins in a whisper and rises to a cry. On this night of promises remembered, each soul in solitude communes with the soul of the universe. God, from this day of atonement to the next, may we reach it in peace. All Israel makes these vows, to turn away from wrong, dishonesty, and greed, to walk in the path of justice and right. Yet we know our weakness, how prone we are to fail. Help us to keep our word. Help us to act with humility and integrity. We seek pardon and forgiveness. We seek your radiance and light. It is my honor to invite forward the members of the confirmation class of 5,784 for the Torah processional. And I ask you all, if you would, please rise.
V'teilin umvutalim L'shiririn v'lo kayamin Nidrana Nidre Ve'arana la'esarei Ushavuatana Lashvuot
Okay, I'm back. Here's some. No, I had none of that. Oh, of course I like that.
Emmett on page 38.
On page 39, our sages taught it is proper to mention the exodus from Egypt in our morning prayers and also at night. We celebrate the going out from Egypt in the morning light, full of confidence and vigor as we enter the new day, but in the evening, weary from the day's exertions, cast down and fearful at the coming of the night. What can the exodus teach us then? Our nighttime prayer brings hope and trust in the future. As God did not abandon our people long ago through the long, dark night of exile, so the Holy One will be with us in time to come. To stand by the one you love, that is the true essence of faithfulness, the meaning of Amunah. So it is written in the Psalms, to proclaim your kindness in the morning and your faithfulness in the nights. Sing with joy in the mornings of your life, when light surrounds you and the world seems beautiful and good, and in the evenings of your life, when you dwell in sorrow and the world seems dark. Do not despair. And we join in Micha Mocha on page 40. kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefet. Malchutcha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze'lianu v'amaru, Adonai lo le'olam va'ed. On 43, when fears multiply and danger threatens, when sickness comes, when death confronts us, it is God's blessing of shalom that sustains us and upholds us, lightening our burden, dispelling our worry, restoring our strength, renewing our hope, reviving us. We ask God to spread a shelter of peace wherever we may go. On page 42, with the words of Hashkivenu, and we ask, let there be love.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, Leshalom. V'hamidenu, shomreinu l'chayim, ufros aleinu, sukat shlomecha.
There be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu.
Friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Be our shelter from life's storms. Be our shelter from life's storms.
We invite you now to turn to page 46 and rise as we join together in words of tefillah. Adonai sfatai tiftach, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sfatai tiftach, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sfatai Ata Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotzeinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekoneh Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imaot, Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava. Zochreinu lechaim, melech hafetz b'chaim.
וכותבנו בספר החיים.
למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני. ברוך שמו. מגן אברהם עזרת שרה. Please be seated. We turn now to page 78, and we join together in a prayer for peace with the words of Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, HaYisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom in just a few moments when we do our vidui, our confession, and we'll say all of the things for which we are sorry this year. You will find, as you found on Rosh Hashanah, that so many things on this list are really just the way that we speak to each other, the kind of words that leave our mouths that sometimes we don't even mean it, but can be so cruel. We have a prayer, though, in our service that acknowledges this. It says, Elohai Nitzor, God, prevent my mouth from speaking these kind of hurtful words to people. We offer it now.
Elohai Nitzor Lishoni Mera Elohai Nitzor Lishoni Mera. Oh my God, watch over me. Take the hurt away from how I speak. Only love flows from you. May every word I speak be true. Elohai Nitzor Lishoni Mera Elohai Nitzor Lishoni Mera. When words are thrown, I'll hold my tongue and breathe the air of songs I sung. That refrain I'll repeat. There's more to you than only me. Elohai Nitzor Lishoni Mera Elohai Nitzor Lishoni Mera. ושפתיי מדבר מרמה, ואם קל אליי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה.
עושה שלום מרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום מרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו
turn to Vidui as our service continues on page 82. 82. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, when we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin, in truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Ashamnu, bagadnu, gazalnu, dibarnu dofi, he'evinu, vihirshanu, zadnu, chamasnu, tafalnu sheker, ya'atznu ra, kizavnu, latznu, maradnu, ni'atznu, sararnu, avinu, pashanu, tsararnu, kishinu oref, rashanu, shichatnu, tiavnu, ta'inu, titanu. Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander. We devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes. We are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray.
We continue on page 86, and please join me in the English. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bezadon uvishgaga, va'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'dibur peh. The ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha be'imutz halev, va'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tifshut peh. The ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chachash uv'chazav, va'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'irchilut. The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tfilut, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'zilzu horim umorim.
The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'vidui peh, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'hona'at rea. The ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chozek yad, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'masa uv'matan. The ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. V'al kulam Eloha, slichot, slach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'galui uvasater, va'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'frikat ol. The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'gilui arayot, va'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'ma'achal uv'mishteh.
The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara, va'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'neshech uv'marbit.
The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha belatzon, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha bintiat garon. The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha besinat chinam, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha betumat fatayim. The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bilshon hara, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha betzarut ayin. The ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. V'al kulam Eloha slichot, slach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Shema Kolenu is found on page 98.
Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel berachamim uveratzon et tefilateinu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashiveinu, Adonai Elecha v'nashuva. Chadesh yameinu kekedem. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Al tashlichenu milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha. Al tikach mimenu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu.
We rise together on page 112. Avinu Malkeinu, ha'er lanu et derech chayinu. Avinu Malkeinu, illumine for us the path of our life. Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find strength to take the road less traveled by? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we not learn to live life in vain? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we get out of our indifference? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the answers to our questions? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we gird ourselves with strength to seek answers? Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu v'anenu, chazkenu v'amtzenu, ki v'cha v'imcha hatshuvot. Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious to us, answer us, empower us, and give us courage. For the answers are both in you and with you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu
Please join me in the English on page 114. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu Ve'al Olaleinu V'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families.
Avinu Malkeinu Kale Dever V'cherev Ve'ra'av Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu Kale Kol Tsar Umastin Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu Malei Yadenu Mibirchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu Harem Keren Mishichecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu Na Al Tshivenu Rekam Milfanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we pray.
Do not turn us away from
you.
for nothing.
Avinu Malkeinu Kabel Barachamim Uvratzon Et Tfilatinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Imanu Leman Shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu Aseh Lemancha Imlo Lemanenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours.
Avinu Malkeinu In Lanu Melech Ele Ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu Patach Sharei Shamayim Litfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu Chus Verachem Aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu Va'anenu Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim Aseh Imanu Tzedaka V'Chesed V'Hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu.
Asay imanu, asay imanu, tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Please be seated. Judaism teaches us that the last 10 days of our lives should have been among the most meaningful ones you've experienced all year. That these 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are the 10 days of repentance, the ones when we are supposed to be turning our thoughts and our prayers to the most holy thoughts. But if you thought that they were the end of the High Holy Days, they are not, because the High Holy Days just keep coming. After you go home from Yom Kippur services, you are supposed to go directly and put the first nail in your sukkah. Some of you may have already built yours already. And then we go from Sukkot to Shmini Atzeret, and then all the way to Simchat Torah, where we finish the last few lines of the Torah and we start all over again. Simchat Torah is probably my favorite of all the Jewish holidays. I love to see the Torah entirely unscrolled so you can see the entire thing and just how far it stretches along our sanctuary. I love when Susie Epstein brings up all of her kindergarten students and we get to see them consecrated and they sing their songs on the bima. And I love being able to hear the story of creation. Now, the creation story is probably one that many of you know, even if you're not necessarily Bible scholars. You know that it says that in the Torah that God created two human beings. God created Adam and Eve, and God puts them in the Garden of Eden, which was supposed to be a place that was absolutely perfect. In Eden, Adam and Eve have everything they could ever want. The sun always shines. The weather is so good, you don't even have to wear clothes. And you can eat anything that you want to in the garden, except that one tree that has the snake sitting right next to it. Now we know that the story doesn't exactly end well because, of course, Adam and Eve do go to that one tree and they are kicked out of the garden for having eaten that forbidden fruit, but it hasn't stopped people from looking for the Garden of Eden ever since. And there's this understandable longing to go back and find that one place on earth that God created to be absolutely perfect and meet every one of our needs. The Torah describes it as the intersection of four tributaries. So archaeologists and scholars have done their research and imagined that it could be at the head of the Persian Gulf. They've thought that it could be in Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates run into the sea, or it could be in Armenia. But in the Mormon faith, they actually believe that the Garden of Eden was in Missouri, Jackson County, to be specific. And even though, obviously, I'm not a Mormon, I really kind of love that. I love the idea that there is a whole wonderful religious group that thinks that Missouri resembles paradise. And it gives me hope for our fair state when I occasionally need it. But regardless of where it was located, no one has ever found the Garden of Eden. Because once Adam and Eve had to leave the garden, they and all humanity to come were banished forever. So the next thing that happens in the story in the Torah is they go and they have children, Cain and Abel, also a story that does not turn out very well, and the story of humanity goes on from there. But the ancient rabbis knew that there were some significant holes in the creation story that had to be explained, especially trying to figure out exactly what happened from the moment that Adam and Eve left the garden and when they finally settled down and decided to have a family. They wondered about what it would have been like when Adam and Eve left the garden, went out into the hills of Mesopotamia, or maybe Missouri, and for the first time experienced darkness and nightfall. The Talmud tells us that when the first sunset occurred, Adam and Eve saw the skies beginning to darken, and they were immediately terrified. They thought that this was their true punishment for having eaten the forbidden fruit. Not just that they were banished from Eden, but that there would be a return to the chaos that had existed before creation occurred. And even though they had never experienced death or hunger or suffering of any kind, they knew when they saw the sun going down that this was a change, and it was very, very scary. They had no idea if the sun would ever rise again or what they would find of the darkness, so they were terrified of whatever their future might hold. That moment in time when the darkness begins to fall, in Hebrew we call that phrase bein hashmashot, between the two suns. It's a time of transition when we are neither here nor there. A time when things are about to change, but there's no real sense of what comes next. And it is terrifying, the not knowing of it all. And it's a feeling that I think many of us know very well. That sense that things are changing so rapidly that we can't even imagine what's ahead, but it would be stupid of us to pretend that it's not a little bit dark and scary. We know that so much of the future is unstable. It's uncertain what will happen with our environments. Even in the past few weeks, there have been so many terrifying environmental catastrophes that it's truly mind-boggling and disturbing. It is unclear what the path will be for our country, though we are certainly going to be in for a wild ride between now and next November. It's uncertain what will happen just in our state of Missouri, Eden or not. I think that so many of us, at least me, but I think many of us too, were certain that once the pandemic ended, that we'd be back on a track that made sense, with clear vision ahead. But even if you're going to leave all of the new various COVID strains out of the picture, there is still a lot of darkness and uncertainty for many of us based on what these last pandemic years have brought. So many of our lives were forever changed in these past few years. And through death and depression and job loss and divorce, the members of this community have been forever altered. And very few of us know what lies ahead in this time between the suns, bein hashmashot. It's like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop or the next chapter to begin. We need some sort of way to describe that we aren't quite wherever it is that we think we should be going. So what do we do in these in-between liminal moments when we're unsure of what lies ahead? What do we do when we just have no idea what is coming next and it is terrifying? Well, the rabbis of our tradition were not unfamiliar with this idea because in their time as well, they knew great change. On Rosh Hashanah, the Erev Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Michael talked about the ways that the rabbis continuously reinvented Judaism each time their lives were overturned, trying to find new ways to be able to deal with the change that they faced. And so when they, the ancient rabbis, looked at that story of Adam and Eve and tried to understand their story, they knew that what the first humans would have needed to get through that difficult time of change, they needed a way to ritually banish the darkness. Something to remind them that there would be a future ahead, a new day, even if they couldn't quite see what it was. So they wrote this midrash, which is a story that sort of fills in the blanks of the Torah when there seems to be something missing. And they explain that God must have given Adam and Eve a special twisted candle, one whose light was so bright that would keep him feeling protected and safe in the darkness. It was a spark of light for whatever was to come. So God gives Adam and Eve this candle and gives them a blessing to go along with it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh borei meorei ha'esh. I can see that some of you already know what that candle was. That candle was the Havdalah candle that we use even to this day to separate holy times and holy things from the everyday. But it wasn't just the candle or the light or the blessing that was the gift. It was the ability to intentionally make distinctions, to say, that was the past, this is going to be the future. Adam and Eve had been so scared, but once they were able to make that differentiation, they were able to look from the scared to finding the sacred. Well, we too need those rituals, those experiences that help us face the unknown and even the darkness that may lie ahead. And even though Havdalah, as many of us know it, is traditionally done on Saturday night at the end of Shabbat, the cool thing is that if you're having such a great Shabbat that you don't want it to end, you can make it last all the way until Tuesday. This is a ritual that we are allowed to create for ourselves. We get to own and shape our own experience. The ritual of blessing and lighting the Havdalah candle exists as a symbol for you to be able to say, I have been in this transitional moment. I'm not quite ready to let go of where I was, but when I light this candle, I'm able to say, that's the past, and now it's time to move on. Judaism is actually laden with rituals like this, not just Havdalah. Rituals that clearly say, I'm separating the time that was from what's to come. And all of them in some way mark the end of one chapter, and after an in-between time, bein hashmashot, the readiness to begin again. One of them is the get, a divorce document that declares a marriage no longer valid. And a person may receive a get long after a marriage has fallen apart, but it's this ritual act of giving and receiving a piece of paper, which is the opposite of a ketubah, that says the couple can finally move on. And it's a sad but often an empowering and holy moment, reminding a couple that they have the freedom to move forward, that sometimes separation itself can be sacred and a blessing. There's also the tradition of walking around the block when Shiva ends, acknowledging that your mourning may continue on, but in a different way than it did before. And I have taken that end of Shiva walk with many of you and taught others of you how to do it. But it's this remarkable act of physically separating one period of mourning from the next. Or there's also going to the mikveh, which we do not just for conversion, but you can go before or after a surgery, or starting chemo, or before becoming a grandparent, or taking on a new name, or embracing a new stage of life. It's this idea of looking at the ritual bath as a way to mark any change that may not be recognizable or sanctified by the world. But we use the ritual to say, you have been in this in-between time and waiting for this change to occur, whether it's one that you are excited about or whether it's one that you are dreading or facing with uncertainty. But the ritual is a reminder that after this time, something in you will officially have changed, even if it isn't visible to the eye. And there's a way to mark that time Jewishly. Like Havdalah, each of these rituals that we've created to find ways through our liminal moments to whatever comes next, they're rituals that help us through times that are often dark and scary and where we can't see the future, but marking the moment as a time of change somehow fills us with the hope that whatever comes next, it will be filled with light. That time of Bein Hashmashot, between the suns, it's almost like being in the twilight zone. And to be clear, being in an in-between time, it doesn't mean it's always negative. Jewish tradition also teaches that actually some of the coolest stuff in Jewish tradition was created in that time with the first dusk. We're told that in that first time, Bein Hashmashot, that the rainbow was created then, that manna from heaven was created then, that the ram that Abraham sacrificed in last week's story, that ram was created then, and then the shofars that we took from that ram's horns, all of those were created in the in-between times, because for some of us, actually, these in-between times, maybe even these past years, they may have been filled with creation and wonder and joy, but still, for most of us, even if they were filled with creation and creativity, they were also very hard. And it's time now to move forward. So I wonder if we don't all need one of those rituals now. A way to visibly mark and separate, and to say, the last few years have ended, and we are calling it. That chapter is over, and we're ready to begin anew. To say, let's truly leave those years behind, that time of being Bein Hashmashot, and say we're ready to begin again. And now is the perfect moment, because in fact the rabbis told us that when Adam and Eve received that Havdalah candle, it was on the high holidays. So if they can do it, then we can do it too. So earlier tonight, when we lit the Yom Kippur candles, we lit a Havdalah candle as well. I do have to say, the candle burned out. Thank you to our amazing staff for providing us with a new one. But I had the intention right of not lighting it right at this moment, so give me a little bit of credit for that. So in a moment, we'll say the blessing. I just want to say, for those of you who come on Friday nights, you know that the joke is that I don't know how to use a lighter, so I'm kind of enjoying a little bit that this time it's Rabbi Michael. So in a moment, we'll say the blessing, which says, Hamavdil bein kodesh lechol, praising God for giving us ways to separate sacred times. I'm going to light it from one of those. It's kosher. I would offer to help, but you know I can't do it. So as he's doing this, I'll invite you to join me in a ritual. I'll tell you what it is first. So there's one more teaching about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and it is one of my absolute favorites. And we're told that in the Garden of Eden, that Adam and Eve had this protective covering over them. It was kind of like an armor. But we're told that what it was made out of is actually similar to our fingernails. And so there's this tradition that when we see the light of the Havdalah candle, that what we should do, and Golda was just doing it so beautifully before, is we should take our hands and we should lift them up so that you can actually sort of see the glow of the candle off our fingers. So if you wish, I'm going to invite you to hold your candles like this, to have your hands like this for the candle. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil bein kodesh lechol hamavdil bein kodesh lechol. God, may you help us to make a distinction between the time that has passed and the future that lies ahead. In the new year, may we be protected like Adam and Eve in the garden. May we always remember that the ability to fill our worlds with hope and with light lies right at our fingertips. Gemar Chatima Tova, may you be sealed and inscribed for a good new year. And we'll continue now on page 116, and we ask you to please rise for the words of Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit geula l'yotzei b'reshit, shelo asanu k'noyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol ha'onah. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
And so, Adonai, our God, we look to you, hoping soon to behold the splendor of your power revealed, a world free of idolatry and false gods, a world growing more perfect through divine governance, a world in which all human beings make known your name, while those who do evil turn toward you.
Bayom harun yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
As is our tradition during the KOL NIDRE service, we do not recall the names of those who have been taken from us at this time of year. Instead, we will share those names during our Yizkor memorial service tomorrow afternoon, which will be at 4 p.m. But we still take this time to think of those who we have loved and lost as we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on 122.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divrach hiroteh v'yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam l'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran ba'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom v'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru.
Please be seated. You know, during these high holy days, we certainly hear some of the most beautiful music that we hear all year long, and I'm so grateful to Rob Aronson and Julie Aronson and William Courtney and Jordan Mandel and Dan Vieser for making it all so beautiful, and Suzanne Harlemer. But the truth is that if you listen to the words of so many of these prayers, they may be beautiful, but they are difficult to hear. We hear the words of KOL NIDRE asking God to forgive us for promises that we already know that we're going to break. We sing the words of Avinu Malkeinu that ask God to be like a parent to us because we know that we will do so wrong. We hear the words of Unatana Tokef that ask who is going to live and who is going to die. So many of these prayers are the hardest ones to hear if we are truly listening. But there's one more prayer, one more psalm that we are supposed to say at this time of year. And we're actually told that if we start saying this psalm at the beginning of Elul and we continue saying it all the way until that very end of the High Holy Days, that somehow this one prayer, it can make up for everything else. This can be the prayer that changes what God thinks will happen to us in the year to come. It comes from Psalm 27, and the words are simple. They ask, Achat sha'alti, God, there's just one thing that I ask of you. And so as we prepare to go into this evening and a long day ahead tomorrow, I ask you to think to yourself, Achat sha'alti, God, what is the one thing that you would ask, that you pray for in the year ahead? May we all be blessed and find it.
אחת שאלתי מעיד אדוני, אחת שאלתי ותבקש, אחת שאלתי מעיד אדוני, אחת שאלתי ותבקש.
שבתי, שבתי, בבית אדוני, שבתי, שבתי, כל ימי חיי, שבתי, שבתי, בבית אדוני,
אחת שאלתי ותבקש, לחזות בנוע אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו, לחזות בנוע אדוני, to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai.
one thing, I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. One thing, I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. One thing, I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life.
אחת שאלתי מעיד אדוני, אחת שאלתי ותבקש.
easy fast, and we'll see you in the morning.